Today I'm going to talk about how to make a template for a new deck in your boat. You've already torn apart your boat, you've taken the deck out, it was full of rotten wood, you can't reuse it as a template for your new deck. So this is how I went about making a new deck for my boat. What I started with was 4 sheets of the pink insulation foam that you would buy at a Lowe's or a Home Depot. They cost about $9 a sheet. Yes, you're going to be throwing them away afterwards, and where I bought 4 sheets, it's $40 down the drain, but I think it's well worth it to not mess up the actual plywood cut. So let's get started. For the width of the sheet, from side to side on the deck, pretty much just lay the sheet of foam down, push down on it. If it flexes down to touch the stringers, you know you have to trim off a little bit off from each edge. This is pretty much a guesstimating process. You'll see I've actually already cut the plywood deck from these templates, and there's quite a bit of overlap. What I did is I guesstimated and I made a cut, and it was actually too much of a cut. So I actually had to add material back on when I marked it for the plywood. And how I went about doing that without having to use a new sheet of pink foam is I made myself a key to work from. A circle means cut here and make a straight line. A plus means add this amount. And you'll see here I have a dash for a line and a plus sign, which means add this amount. So when I drew the line on the plywood, moving the template over, I added that much to the edge of it. And you'll see I have dashes going straight up the side of it. Right at the end, I have that last dash with the plus sign slightly closer to the edge, so there's went over just a little bit here and slightly more here. That ended up working well for that side. Move over. Naturally, I misjudged and cut too much of this side as well. There's the line, there's the plus sign. I added that much amount. Moving back towards the transom area. On this part, after you have the sides cut and it lays pretty flat on the stringers, on this, the best I can advise is just to eyeball it, cut a little bit out, push it up against, see if it fits, cut a little bit more, try to stay conservative. I unfortunately was not very conservative and cut too much, so this line actually is a kind of a goofy way of saying make this a straight line when you mark it. On the other side, I did roughly the same thing, tried to stay conservative. And along the bilge area is normally an easy cut, but of course I fudged that one too. While the foam is hanging over the edge, you can simply take a marker and run it along the line, flip the foam over, and cut right along that line. You have a perfect edge. If, however, you are like me and cut too much, there's the line, there's the plus sign, means add that much to the other side. And you'll see the final cut ended up right in line. I have an odd fuel tank. There's a area that sticks up through the deck for the hoses and the sending unit. I cut too much here as well. In order to make up for that, I'll try to hover as above as possible. I made a line and made a circle, and if you recall, the circle means cut here in a straight line. Well, if you move over, there's another line in a circle. So when I marked the template, I simply made a straight line from each edge, and you'll see the final deck lined up just where I wanted it. As for the rest of the deck, simply follow the same process. guesstimate on how wide it needs to be. After the initial piece, I started with the bilge area, but you can start wherever you like. You already know how wide to begin the next section, so if you start one section at a time, you'll notice how far off you are. You can begin the cut of the next section at that width, so you'll be less off as you progress down towards your bow area. The final bow area is slightly more difficult simply because you don't have the stringers to work from. Just be careful, cut conservatively, take your time, test fit, and all should work out just fine. I did this in about 5 hours, including making the templates and cutting the deck. So it doesn't really take that long, as long as you make conservative cuts, you're careful. And that's all there is to it. Have fun. Good luck on your deck.